Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Danny. This is kind of an unfortunate video to make, so I guess we're just gonna jump into it. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about what's been going on for the last couple months, and that all leads to what the title of this video is. And this video absolutely breaks my heart to even think about, but I've been pretty okay today, which is why I chose today. I've tried to make this video a couple times and then just lost it, so I've been pretty okay today. I actually had kind of a fun day with I guess it wasn't a fun day, but I've had a busy day with like cleaning my room and then playing with my one niece is at her cousin's house, but my other niece and nephew, playing with them. And then I definitely invaded my brother and sister-in-law's Valentine's Day and made them play a board game with me and ate their Valentine snacks. So yeah, so I've had kind of a fun day. I know it's still a weird day, but a fun day. But yeah, I kind of wanted to tell you guys a little bit about what's been going on for the last couple months, because kind of just up and left and didn't really give an explanation, and I don't feel like I have to give an explanation, but I feel like I want to. And I want you guys to know what happened leading up to what the title of this video is. So anyways, back in December, I was trying to do Vlogmas, and I was trying to post every day on Instagram, and it ended up not being fun. And that was the thing, like when I started YouTube, when I started Instagram, originally when I started Instagram, I had started Instagram because I wanted to, just keep track of the books that I was reading. I didn't really care if I only had like 3 followers or whatever. I really just needed a place to be like, oh my gosh, what have I read this month? Because I didn't have a book journal yet, and I didn't really use Goodreads yet. Like reading was so new to me, up until that point that, I mean, it wasn't new to me, like I had read before, but it was like up until that point, I hadn't really picked up a book, or if I did, I'd read maybe like a book or 2 a year, like, you know, like it wasn't a big deal to me, but now it is, and it became that way. So I started the Instagram to kind of keep track of what books I was reading, and then I got 1,000 followers, and I was like, this is amazing. And I never went really past 1,000 followers. It kind of stayed there, and you know, I didn't mind. And same with YouTube. I had, when I stopped posting, I had 200 subscribers. I don't know what the number is now. I haven't really looked over the last couple of months. But yeah, like I was like, you know, it's not a big number, but that's 200 people that want to listen to me, and that's 1,000 people that want to see my posts. And you know, they maybe don't all care, or they're maybe just following me so I follow them back, or you know, maybe they do really care. And I've kind of always had this like thing where like if one person's willing to learn from me, then I will teach that one person with my whole heart. If 100 people are willing to learn from me, then that's not going to change either. I will continue to teach them with my whole heart. So you know, numbers have really never mattered to me. I think that's just the teacher in me, like being a dance teacher, and I was a pre-K teacher for a while, and like I just was like, if one person wants my knowledge, then I will give that to them. If no one wants my knowledge, then I'll stay quiet, kind of thing. But yeah, so I ended up starting to do Vlogmas, and for that like month maybe beforehand, YouTube felt like a job along with Instagram and reading. Reading stopped being fun. Reading was like, I have to read 12 books this month to reach my goal. I have to participate in 3 different readathons to reach my goal. I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. And it became so stressful. Like it became another job, and I was like, you know what, like I don't get paid for this. I don't have any monetization on my channel. I don't have any monetization on my Instagram. Occasionally somebody will send me something, and I'm always grateful for that, like, you know, like a little book box or a bookmark or a new book, and that's awesome. I so appreciate that. When people reach out to me and ask me to review their books or something like that, I'm like, that's so cool. You know, because I do just kind of have a small following, and it's weird for people to want my opinion on things. So, you know, it's really cool. But I got to this point where I was like, this is not fun. And I was watching a lot of booktubers at the time, and I would watch How to Train Your Gavin, JD Ray reads, Jesse the Reader, all these people who have thousands and thousands and almost a million people watching their channels and caring about books and caring about what they have to say, and they had such a following, and I felt so little. Like, I felt like my words didn't matter, and that anything that I would say, these people would eventually say, and they'd say better, and people would care more. So it got to this point where I was just so anxious about it. Like, oh my gosh, I have to post. What am I going to post? I have to post quality content. And then I just fizzled. And you guys can see in my last few videos before Vlogmas, they're like not planned. I'm laying down. I'm exhausted and burnt out, and that was because I was getting ready for my dance recital at work. If you guys don't know, I'm a dance instructor, and my kids were getting ready for their holiday shows, so I would wake up, babysit my nieces and nephew, which is what I do during the day. I would babysit them from 7 to 3. At 3 o'clock, I would leave. I'd go to work. I'd work from 3:30 or 4-ish to 9:30, 10:30 at night, come home, try to make a YouTube video, end up going to sleep around midnight or 1 o'clock, and then waking up and doing it all again the next day. And so Sundays would hit, which Sundays are my only day off from everything, and I would just flop and be like, I don't want to do this. And like, I'd be like, okay, but it's your day off, like you need to make all these YouTube videos so you don't have to make them at night, and then you won't be as tired. And just like bribing myself to do it. I'm like, this is not what I started this for. What I had started this channel for was to just talk about books and have these almost as like little diary entries for me to be like, oh, I remember that book, or like, I remember that happening, like that was so cool, kind of thing. And yeah, it got stressful, it got tiring, it got painful, and just stopped being fun. So I kind of talked to my therapist, I talked to my friend, and I was like, I think this thing that I love to do is causing me anxiety. And they were like, if you don't love it right now, stop doing it. Take a little break, come back to it. So it's like, okay, cool, I'll do that. So I decided I was going to take some time off and not be like, oh, I'm only giving myself a month or giving myself 2 months. I was like, I want to take as much time as I need. So I started feeling more up to it. And I did not read during this time at all. I've read 2 books in the new year. And they were very short books. I am not even midway through another one. I'm like maybe like 100 pages into another one, and it's really good and I want to read it, but my brain is so distracted, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more too. But yeah, so I kind of would just like stress about this, and I was like, you know what, this isn't worth the stress, this isn't worth the pain, like let's just kind of put it on hold and come back to it when I feel ready. So it was about like the second week of January. I was like, you know what, I don't want to do booktube, but maybe I'll do something else. Maybe I'll, you know, post some dance videos or something like that. Not me dancing now, God no, but like dance videos from my childhood, like a blooper reel or something like that, like something funny of what dance was when I was a kid. And I was a very serious dancer. I took it, I wanted to be a professional. So, you know, like I have some very funny videos of me being so serious and like so and like not having a funny bone in my body. It was horrible. But then I also have a lot of videos of me wiping out either on stage or during a practice, and I was like, this would be a great blooper reel. So I was like, I'm gonna make this video. So I started getting into the process of digitalizing all my dance videos, DVDs, VHSs, and putting them on my laptop. And then this gets into the hard part. So I don't even remember what day it was. I can't tell you dates for the last month and a half now. I really can't. But it was sometime in like the early part of January, early to mid part of January. It was a normal day. My mom and I had babysat the kids, and then all of a sudden or not all of a sudden, but I lay Riley down for a nap, who's the youngest, and my deal with my mom was, you know, like if Riley lays down for a nap and she sleeps long, then I can take a nap too. So I lay myself down into bed, and everything had been normal that day, and then all of a sudden my mom calls me, and I'm like, that's weird, like she's right downstairs, why is she calling me? And she was like, you know what, I think I need you to come downstairs, I think I need to go to the hospital. And I'm like, why do you need to go to the hospital? So if you guys don't know, I've talked about it in previous videos, but my mom has something called myasthenia gravis, and it is an autoimmune condition that affects your entire muscular system. It makes it weak, it makes it, it's a doozy. My mom was a very active, bubbly, lively woman, and this really, when she first got it, she couldn't hold doors open. So people would have to hold doors open for her. Her face would droop. Her speech would slur. She'd have wicked bad double vision. She couldn't lift her arms much. She couldn't really lift the kids much. And there's always these telltale signs of like her getting tired. And I had noticed her getting tired. And when that would happen, she would have to go in for plasmapheresis treatments where they, you know, filter the plasma, and I don't know the science behind it, but she would get these plasmapheresis treatments, and she would come home and she'd be a lot better. And they would really last a long time. She would also get something, she got it done a long time ago, but she had a central line put into her neck, and she got, well, I guess that was the plasma where she got it put into her neck. Other times she would get plasmapheresis treatments, and Rituxan is another medication that worked for her, and those were a little bit easier treatments, but the plasmapheresis and the Rituxan are what was really working for her. That's a lot of sciencey stuff that you guys don't really need to know. But anyway, basically myasthenia gravis sucks. Like, it really does take a damage to your immune system, your muscular system, your nervous system. Like, everything is just started shutting down. And we could usually tell when she was getting tired, and I could tell she was getting a little tired, but I also couldn't tell because, I mean, my dad died 14 months ago, and I knew she missed him, and that was the thing where I was like, you know, like, I can't tell if she's tired or if she's just kind of like thinking like, oh, this is gonna be Christmas without Dale kind of thing. And like, you know, she would talk about him, she talked about him a lot during the holidays, so that's why I was like, I can't tell if she's sad or if she is, you know, tired. But for my mom, tired was still doing about a million things a day, so it was very hard. Like, she was not somebody who would like lay in bed and be like, oh, I'm so tired. Like, she would go sit in her chair and watch TV and stuff like that, but like, she never took naps or anything like that. Like, she was a go person. So it was, when she was like, I'm going to the hospital, I was like, for what? Like, I was so confused because I was like, we had a very normal day. Like, she said that her back hurt at one point, but like, that was the only thing. Like, it was weird. And I was just like, oh, okay. So I like came downstairs. I'm like, well, what's going on? She's like, I just don't feel good. Like, I just don't feel right. And I was like, okay, like, if this is what you need to do, like, go. Maybe they'll up your plasma treatments or something. And they did. They upped her treatments, and so she went to the ER. And she went in, she talked to the doctor, and the doctor said, okay, we'll up your treatments, send her home. It's a pretty normal weekend. Sunday, she starts getting a little sick, and it was 3 days after she went to the hospital. And we're like, okay, so maybe it's just a cold. Maybe you picked something up at the hospital. And she started getting sicker and sicker. Started off as upper respiratory, turned into like a stomach thing, and eventually she said, I think I have COVID, and I think I got it from the ER. I was like, like, it was just like one of those things where I was like, we've done so good. The vaccine's coming out, and honestly, my mom was not far away from getting the vaccine because she had a medical need for it. They were actually trying to figure out a way to get her in early for a vaccine because of her myasthenia. So they were trying to figure out like what category she would fall under to get a vaccine so she could get in and get it before her plasma treatments, hoping that that would help even more. Yeah, so she goes, I think I have COVID. And I was like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And she was like, she got so sick. So sick. She had a stomach bug that literally turned her into a ghost. I mean, she was white. She was gray. She was gray. Like, it was So I had never seen her like that before, and I've been her daughter for 28 years. So in 28 years, I had never seen her that sick. She could not get out of bed. We gave her 24 hours. We're like, okay, like you have 24 hours, and if you don't go to the hospital, like we're calling an ambulance kind of thing, because she was like, it's just a stomach bug, it's just a stomach bug. Might be COVID, but this will go away. This will go away. And it didn't for 24 hours. So my sister-in-law, who's kind of more of a boss lady than anyone in our house, was like, you're going to the hospital. Like, I will take you, I will call you an ambulance, but you're going. And so my mom ended up calling an ambulance for herself that time. So she went back up to the hospital, the same one she went to when she went to the ER, and she tested positive for COVID. And at this time, I started feeling sick, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I cannot have COVID, like this is crazy. I already had to call and tell my boss that I was gonna be out of work for 14 days because I had to self-quarantine, because my mom had it and we all lived together. So, you know, my whole family had a quarantine, and I got so sick. Like, I thought I was gonna end up in the hospital kind of sick. I could not breathe. We have an oximeter, and I kept taking, and my oxygen was fine, but my heart rate at its highest was 142. That's really high. So it was terrifying. Like I was probably like 20 steps to my bathroom from my bedroom. In those 20 steps, I would have to like bend over the sink to take breaths in to slow my heart rate down because it was going so fast. On top of that, I naturally am an anxious person. Because of what COVID was doing to my body, I couldn't take some of my medication because it wouldn't, like, I couldn't sleep because I couldn't breathe. My body ached so bad. There's so much pain, and it was making me nauseous. So I was like, I can't take my medicine if I'm just gonna throw it up. So it, like, I wasn't throwing up, but I was just like constantly feeling like I was going to. On top of that, I lost my sense of smell. Side note, I still have not gotten my sense of smell back. I'm wondering when it will come back, and I'm hoping it's soon, because it's really weird not to have a sense of smell, because I'd like to know if I stink, which right now I can't. I also never know when the kids poop their diaper, which is really unfortunate when I open up the diaper and discover what's happened. So, little weird fact about my sense of smell thrown in there for you guys. But at this point, my mom, when I first got sick, was in the hospital. They kept her for, I want to say 24 hours, and then they sent her home. And they were like, you know, it's just COVID. Like, they gave her medicine. She came home and she was great. Like, she woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and made muffins one night. And I feel like that part's gonna make me cry, because I just, like, that was only like 2 weeks ago. It was only 2 weeks ago that I get a text message from her, and she's like, I know you don't feel good, but like, come down, I'm making muffins, because she knew I was awake because I could not sleep while I had COVID. I don't think I slept. The thing is I overly slept too. Like, COVID hit me in the way that I was exhausted, but like, I would sleep intensely for 4 hours, wake up and not sleep again. So it was like, I was sleeping like deep, but I would wake up in shooting pains, dripping sweat, fever, like it was just horrible. Like, I can't describe. I was sleeping, exhausted, and not sleeping all at the same time, if that makes any sense. It was crazy. But yeah, so so she texted me and she was like, come downstairs, I'm making muffins. Like, I know you don't feel good, but like, come downstairs. And we had a really normal night. And less than 24 hours later, she got just as sick as she was when she went to the hospital. And I'm like, Mom, how are you getting this sick? Like, she's like, I don't know, I think it's just because I have myasthenia and it's harder to fight off and stuff like that. She's like, I'll be fine. So again, she was super, super sick, gray, and just awful. And I went downstairs and I was like, I told my sister-in-law, I'm like, she will not listen to me. She will listen to you. So get in there and tell her she's going to the hospital. And she did. She's like, I'm calling an ambulance. And so my sister-in-law called an ambulance. They brought her back into the hospital, and she got home in, I want to say, 12 hours. they were like, we don't have any reason to keep you. You know, this is just what COVID does. And they looked at her chart. They saw that she had myasthenia, and they're like, okay, like, go home. You're fine. And I super respect doctors and nurses. Like, don't get me wrong, my mom was a nurse. I just feel like they're so overworked right now that they missed something big. And what they missed, we ended up finding out 2 days later. So my mom did not get better. She was very sick. But I started feeling better, and I was able to return to work and all that. And then the day that I returned to work, my mom was sent back up to the hospital. And meanwhile, I should also mention that my brother, sister-in-law, nieces, and nephew, we all tested positive. Everybody in my household tested positive. My sister-in-law got congestion and like weird things with her smell and taste, but nothing serious. And she still is having issues where she's smelling smoke. Well, I can't smell anything at all. All she smells is smoke, and like everything tastes burnt to her, which is a really weird side effect, but I guess it's super common. A lot of people have had that side effect. My 2 nieces both got 24-hour stomach bugs from it, but they were fine after that, and my nephew never showed any form of anything. Like he's got a really high pain tolerance, so if he ever had body aches or a headache or anything like that, we didn't even see that, but he didn't really have any sickness at all. My brother got maybe like 48 hours of the stomach bug. It was me and my mom who got really sick. Mind you, me and my mom have the most health issues out of my family. Like my immediate family. Well, that's not true, because Jacob has Down syndrome, and like he's supposed to have a really weak immune system for that, but that kid, I swear, he is not the norm. He's got a very strong immune system for somebody who's supposed to have a weak immune system. He's got a very strong one. So but yeah, I think me and my mom have oh, that's so weird to say. But yeah, I have had a lot of medical issues in the past, but I also take a lot of medication for my mental health. So you never know what mixes with certain illnesses, stuff like that, what weakens you more, stuff like that. So, you know, but my mom definitely had the underlying autoimmune condition. She was also on medication for mental health. So, you know, you never really know what mixes with what, and we both just got really sick, but I got better. So my mom ended up going to the hospital the same day that I went back to work, and it wasn't the same as when she normally went to the hospital. I normally, like, when she was in the hospital, and she was in the hospital a lot for her myasthenia gravis, but she would send us like silly like videos and text messages and emojis and all this stuff, and she wasn't responding. Like, I would text her and I'd be like, hey, just checking in, how are things going? And she would not respond. And I, like, every time it took more than 10 minutes for her to respond, my heart would stop, because I'm like, this is not her. Like, normally if she was in the hospital, she was so bored, so she was always on her phone playing something. So I'm like, the fact that she's not on her phone playing something, she's not good. Like, she's very bad off. And so finally I ended up calling up to the ER, and I was like, hey, my mom was very sick. She was brought in today, and this was at like 10:30 at night when I got home from work, and I was like, and I haven't heard anything from her. Neither has my brother or my sister-in-law, and neither is my aunt, really. Like, my aunt texted us because she said, like, oh, like, your mom texted me that she's having a really bad day and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, but like, also we'd like to know what's going on. So I talked to the nurse, and they're like, oh, well, she has a blood clot in her lung. And I'm like, what? Like, no, like, she was just at the hospital 2 days ago. They didn't say anything about a blood clot in her lung. And they were like, well, we looked at her chart, and she's prone to blood clots because of her myasthenia, and she's had blood clots before, and, you know, we gotta get that with some medication, but that's very serious for somebody with COVID. And I'm like, okay, like, so just give her the medication, she'll be fine. Like, I was very ignorant at first, and I was like, she's gonna be fine. Like, she's my mom. My mom is a fighter. Like, this is fine. Yeah. My mom was a fighter. But this COVID's no joke, guys. Like, I there are so many people that I talk to still, knowing that my mother has now died of it, are still telling me like, oh, like, it was probably some underlying condition, not COVID. COVID is so real. Like, I don't swear on my channel, but it is effing real. Like, it is no joke. And I had it. I thought I was gonna die from it. I could only imagine what my mom was feeling. Like, I didn't need to be hospitalized. I probably should have been, to be honest. Probably should have gone to the hospital. But I was also like, oh my gosh, they have so many people there with COVID. They're probably gonna look at my symptoms and laugh at me and be like, go home. But for my mom to get as sick as she was, like, I can't believe there's people out there who are still questioning it and questioning what it is and why do we have to wear masks? Like, it's my health. Like, no, it's not. It's somebody else's. Because my mom got this at an ER, a place she was going to get help. That's crazy to me. Somebody there decided that during a pandemic they weren't going to wash their hands and touch a hospital chair or sit too close and breathe on my mom, or, you know, I don't know who gave it to her or how she contracted it, but I know where she got it and I know how people get it. So somebody decided that their health was more important than my mom's, and now my family gets to suffer, which isn't fair. So anyway, getting my low battery warning here. It's okay. I think I'm almost done talking, but so anyway, so my mom went back to the hospital. They found the blood clot in her lung, and the next week was a lot of arguing and debating. So my aunt was my mom's healthcare proxy, and she did not want to make any decisions because she was like, I don't want to be that person. Like, I don't want to be her healthcare proxy. I don't want to make any decisions without you and Jay. Remember, we just lost my dad 14 months ago, so my brother and I were like, whatever you can do, do it. Like, we cannot lose another parent. Like, we've already lost one. So it was a couple days after she was in the hospital, she got moved to the ICU and put on a ventilator because she wasn't breathing well. Before they put her on a ventilator, we did get to talk to her on a FaceTime, and she told us to lean on each other and make sure the kids get to go to Disney. And then she stopped mid-sentence to tell me to call my therapist because she was a mom through and through. So yeah, so I knew that part was gonna get me. Okay. But yeah, so she called us, we said goodbye, and we told her we loved her, and that was the last time I talked to my mom, and the last time I will ever talk to my mom. And oh my gosh, from there it was a lot of deciding things. I had neurologists calling me, and I had general surgeons calling me, and whoever's in charge of the kidneys, I don't know what doctor that is, but them calling me, and you know, she needs plasma. Okay, give her plasma. Like, oh, she needs this done. Okay, do it. Like, do it. Like, and it was just constantly like, do it. Like, you know, we did not give up on the glimmer of hope. We're like, she's gonna get through this. She is such a fighter, and she was such a fighter. She fought it like no one's business. But then on Sunday morning, this a week ago from today that I'm filming this, we got a call that she went into cardiac arrest, and they told us to come up and say our goodbyes. So my brother, sister-in-law, and I went up, and my brother and I had to make the decision if she was going to go on dialysis or not, because the cardiac arrest had put her in multi-organ failure. And her kidneys were failing, so she was very yellow when we saw her. She was not breathing on her own. And they said, if you want any form of hope, put her on dialysis and we'll see how she tolerates it. So we said, this is the last thing. This is the last thing we're gonna do, because in my heart, I knew she wanted to be with my dad. Like, I knew that. And I also knew that she was tired. She was so tired, and she was fighting because of us, because of the grandkids, but she was tired. So anyway, she got started on the dialysis. It was going well, so my brother, sister-in-law, and I went home and kind of just waited to hear. And I called every 2 hours. And guys, this is another point where I'm like, I know doctors and nurses are so overworked, but oh my gosh, there should be somebody just in charge of the phone calls, because I called every 2 hours, and every 2 hours I got, you need to call back later. You need to call back later. My mom is on her deathbed and I am getting, you need to call back later. You need to call back later. And I'm like, I don't want to call back later. Like, I want answers. I want you to tell me what's going on. Like, and the last couple times it wasn't call back later. It was, you're gonna have to wait for a nurse to talk to you. You're gonna have to wait for the head nurse to talk to you. You're gonna have to wait for a doctor to talk to you. And it just kept going up the ranks. And I'm like, something's not good. So finally the head nurse called me. And when we had gotten to the hospital that morning, she was the one that was most blunt with us. She was like, she's probably not going to come back from this. You guys can try stuff, but she's probably not going to come back from this. The doctor was the one who was like, if you want glimmer of hope, like, put her on dialysis and like kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, like, we want the glimmer of hope, like, give us hope. But the nurse was very blunt. So I was kind of glad that I got her at that point, because I was like, just be honest with me. Like, I feel like people have been messing with my emotions all day. Like, oh, we're going to start her on this new medication. My brother and I were very clear, like, we want her to go on dialysis, and then that's it. And then I was getting people being like, oh, we're trying this new medication, we're trying this. And I'm like, well, I thought we said just dialysis and then not. But my brother and I are not medical people, so we're like, I don't know if this is normal or not. So I'm like calling my aunt. My aunt's like, I don't know, you know, like, my aunt's a nurse, and she's like, I mean, like, the dialysis, and like, I don't know what this is doing, kind of thing. So it was a day of just like, are we putting her through more than she needs to be going through? And I almost feel like we did, and I regret that, because I don't think after she was in cardiac arrest that there was any more they could have done, but we were so persuaded by the doctors to do it that we did. But anyway, I called up there. It was 10:30 at night. Mind you, we went in at 6 o'clock that morning. So it was a long day of phone calling and getting a lot of no answers. And this is where my heart is like, I know that they're so overworked in hospitals right now, but I really just wish someone was there to be on the phone. Like, their job is the phone. And I know they couldn't have told me details, but maybe if there was somebody who was dedicated to being on the phone, I wouldn't have had to do this 2-hour thing all day long. Because it was just, you know, I'm calling and people are like, oh, well, I gotta go check this, and I gotta go do this, and and maybe at some hospitals it is like that, where somebody's just working the phone, but at this hospital it was not. The nurses were answering their phone as they got a free second, and they didn't have a free second, and I don't blame them, and I don't blame anyone. I just wish that there was a better system right now. Like, this has been a year of our country, and I feel like nurses are still like overworked and overwhelmed, and there just needs to be, somebody needs to be doing better by them, and I don't know whose job that is, but this is a very painful day for my family, and I think it's a painful every day for the nurses. They have to watch this every day. So anyway, so 10:30 at night, I call up there and I'm like, you know, like, be honest with me. And it was the very blunt nurse, and I was like, be honest with me. Is anything we're doing right now going to get her to stand up and walk out that door the same woman she was when she came in? And I said, I'm not talking about the mental, the trauma, anything like that. I am saying that after this, within the next year, does she get to go home and be grandma again? Or is she going to be somebody who is half the woman she was? And she goes, I'm going to be really honest with you that I don't even think that's an option. I don't think she's going to make it through the night. And I was like, so why are we continuing with treatment? And she goes, you can stop treatment whenever you want. I go, we didn't know that. No one told us that. No one told us that what you're doing isn't going to make a difference. We were told you can have this glimmer of hope. And we held on to it all day long. We held on to that glimmer of hope. And finally someone was like, I wanted to give you hope, but I can't. And I think that's what I needed. I needed to hear that. So I went down, I had a conversation with my brother. We decided to drive up and end treatment. And just to give you guys a little input on how much of the right decision it was to end treatment. And I know that it's a big controversial topic. I know people are like, no, keep me on life support for the rest of my life. My mom did not want that. We had actually had several conversations about it after my dad passed away of, please don't leave me on monitors, please let me go in peace, kind of thing. And you know, like that was, it was her request, full-heartedly her request. But my brother and I went up and we signed the paper saying to end treatment, and she died a minute and a half after the machines were turned off. So really all day long, it was just the machines keeping her alive. And that's kind of where my regret comes in. Like, we should have done that morning and not put her through all the extra. But in my heart, I'm like, I don't know if she even was back after the cardiac arrest or if it was just the machines. So yeah, we went home and she wasn't gonna be there anymore. And I think that was, I always got this feeling after my dad passed away, like when we left the hospital, we were missing someone. But my mom and I got through it together. My mom has been my best friend for the last few years, ever since I moved back home, and we did everything together. And I think when we left the hospital, it wasn't just someone's missing, it was everything is missing. I definitely struggling still with the why. Why our family? Why now? What have we ever done? You know what? We just lost our dad. Give us a break, like, kind of thing. I think what I learned from all of it, though, is you never know. This woman was making muffins 2 weeks ago at 4 o'clock in the morning, and anyway, so this is a little bit of my broken heart here for you guys to see. I absolutely hate crying. I do not cry in public, but there's not another person in the room right now, so you know, my brain's like, this isn't public, this is our bedroom, cry here, that's cool. I do not cry in public. I didn't cry at the calling hours, I didn't cry when my family came over. I just don't cry. I cried at the hospital, which I guess is public, but like, I mean, who wouldn't? Anyway, yeah, so you guys are probably like, ew, she's wiping her nose on her sweater. I promise I'm gonna put the sweater in my hamper afterwards. I just don't have a tissue by me. Yeah, anyway, so we lost my mom, and we lost her from COVID, and we lost her from somebody who decided their need to be free, not wash their hands, not stay home when they should have, not called ahead of time to the ER and been like, hey, I have COVID symptoms, where should I go? You know, it was somebody who didn't take the precautions. I mean, there are so many precautions out there. It was somebody who just said, and I know sometimes it's not preventable, and maybe this person was there because they had COVID symptoms. They really genuinely did not know what to do. But guys, if you have COVID symptoms, please call ahead to the healthcare provider so they can make sure you're not sitting in the waiting room, touching things, being near other people, but you're separate. Because had that happened, maybe this wouldn't have happened, you know. And I can sit here and I can contemplate the maybe this, maybe that, maybe this, maybe that, but it's not gonna get me anywhere. But I wanted to make this video because I have had several people insensitively message me, people that I know in real life. Oh, you know, like, it was probably just her myasthenia. Probably, you know, COVID, it's not a thing. It's not, I mean, it's just a thing made up to get Trump, or to get Biden votes, and like, okay, well, Biden's our president now, so I don't know why he's keeping it around if that's the truth. Like, and it's not, guys. It's not. It's a real thing. It's a real pandemic we are in. Please be smart and intelligent. Please understand who you're affecting, what you're affecting, and what you're taking away by not being cautious. That being said, I don't know the state of my channel from here on out. I can't read right now. I tried reading this past week, and just every time I opened a book, it was just sadness kind of filled me, and I was like, I just don't want this right now. I don't want to read. I don't want to be able to think. I don't want the quiet. So I've been watching a lot of TV, which I usually do not like. I normally hate watching TV, so it's weird. Been watching a lot of YouTube. I've been hanging out with my friend, and just trying to get through this. I mean, I have an amazing therapist. I am on prescription medication that I do think I'm going to get upped for my mental health, just get it upped for this time, which just means taking up the dosage and stuff like that. I was able to lower my dosage over the past year, and I think that I need to kind of bring it back up just during this time because, you know, my brain is going a million miles a minute. Because if you guys don't know, I have something called borderline personality disorder, so it's also called unstable emotion disorder is another name for it. So, you know, when you're in an emotional situation, you have something that's literally called unstable emotion disorder. Probably best to get that stabilized with medication. But yeah, I mean, it's shocking, it's hard, and it's crazy to me that this happened, and I think I'm still kind of like, no, it's not real. It's not real, but it is. And it happened. So I think in the future with my channel, you know, I was kind of thinking, like, I went back and forth between posting dance videos and, you know, maybe doing book related things that didn't involve me reading. But I think right now where I'm at with YouTube, if I post, it will probably be something mental health related. You know, I think it's so important to have a platform to talk about your mental health and to be able to say, like, you know, I do have borderline personality disorder. Along with that, I have depression and anxiety and PTSD. So I've got a lot of stuff going on in this brain, and, you know, I think a lot of people have questions about it, and I think especially like young teenagers who might be feeling some of these symptoms or some of these things that go along with mental health conditions are probably like, I don't know if that's me or not. I don't know if that's me or not. And what if it is me? You know, how do I tell people? How do I, you know, kind of and I am not an expert. I am not an expert. If I was an expert on it, I probably still would need a therapist, but if I was an expert, I'd probably be someone's therapist too. Like, you know, but I mean, I think that it's important to talk about it. So I think I might do some stuff with that. I haven't really decided what. Right now I can say that in my own brain, it's going a million miles a minute. I like to call it the Rolodex. So when I experience trauma, my brain just kind of like keeps rolling through all these, like, you have to do this, 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 remember this, remember this, remember this. And it's this constant spinning. If you guys remember those old Rolodexes that you would keep people's phone numbers in, kids probably have no idea what that is today, but you know, us oldies probably remember them. But yeah, it's just this constant spinning of, you know, you have to do this, remember this, think about this, do this, and it's a lot. It's a lot going on. But I think my heart is trying to heal, and I think that my brain will catch up eventually. And right now I'm just happy for the support that I have. You know, I have a lot of great people in my life. I still have my nieces and nephew and my brother and sister-in-law living here with me, and I mean, I'm living with them. They're definitely not living with me. I'm living with them. But my mom's final words were take my grandbabies to Disney, so we're planning to do that in March. And you know, I kind of thought about maybe vlogging some of it so you guys can see what that's like during the pandemic. And yeah, I don't know what I want to do with this channel, but I think I want to use this opportunity to do something good with it. So I think that you guys are not going to be seeing a lot of book stuff for a while. You're probably not going to see any dance stuff for a while unless I get really bored and want to make that blooper video, but you might see me, and you might see me letting you guys know how sucky this all is, and you might see me telling you guys how great things are too. So I think I'm just going to leave it at that and let you guys know that I'm gonna get through this, and I'm going to, you know, keep fighting every day to get past this hardship and this moment, but also use my heart to remember my mom and remember my dad and just do my best. And I think that's all I can do right now is my very best, and it might not look the same as my old best, but it's the best that I can give right now. So I think that going forward is what I'm going to try to remember, and going to try to remember to be kind to myself and not make myself feel like I have to do a million things all at once. Learning to process and learning to grieve is a hard thing for me, because normally with my BPD I'm like, okay, black and white, like nothing can change this, so I might as well just move on. And I think that with my therapy and with my medication and stuff, that has sort of stabilized. Now my brain's extra like, we're feeling this, but it's okay, like we're gonna get through it, but you're feeling it. I'm like, oof, I don't know if I've felt these emotions before. So yeah, but you know, I do have a great support system, and I just wanted to make this video to make you guys aware that yes, vaccines are coming out, but this is still a very real thing, and not to take it lightly, not to take chances or anything like that. So, you know, please be cautious. Please keep others' loved ones in mind too, because maybe no one in your family has an autoimmune condition, maybe no one in your family is elderly, maybe no one in your family is an infant, but oh God, what if somebody else's family was and it was you who did it, you know? So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'm sorry this wasn't a very happy video to jump back into, but it's a very real video, and I wanted you guys to kind of get an opinion and get an opportunity to hear about what happened in real life to somebody who had COVID. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye!